Welcome to the flight deck, and this time I kind of mean it, because on today's video I'm going to be showing you guys how I built an Airbus A320 cockpit, or I guess half an Airbus A320 cockpit, and how you can build your own one. So without further ado, external power on. Now, before we get started into how to build this thing and how I built it, the first thing you guys are probably going to know is how much does this cost? Well, I'm going to tell you at the end, and in the meantime, I want you to try and guess. It's not as expensive as you think. Anyway, step one, the frame. So if you're building something like this, you need somewhere to put everything. And a frame of sorts is what makes the Airbus A320 cockpit look like an Airbus A320 cockpit. Now, if you want to use the frame that I used, you can go to this website here. And as you can see here, somebody has done an amazing job of working up this frame and making it a downloadable DXF file or step file to basically be able to cut this out of MDF. Yep, this is all wood. What happens is you can go to a CNC shop, or if you've got a CNC machine yourself, you can get this lasered out and perfectly aligned. And then what you need to do is basically just put it together. When you actually have this all put together, if you use those plans exactly, you will end up with the main instrument panel effect that you've got here. You can do that, or you can 3D print it. You know, I was going to use a 3D printed version like this, but online somebody in Sydney, which is not that far away from me, was randomly selling this MIP, and this is from an actual Airbus A320. If you're not actually using something from a real plane, as I said, those files I mentioned earlier, you can actually download the MIP main instrument panel and use that to apply on here, or you can 3D print one like I tried to do, or you can get a real one like this. This obviously increases the price a little bit because it's actually OEM, but this stuff and the wood makes it nice and cheap. The PFD and ND, these two screens here, are comprised of a 17-inch screen, and the ECAMs are a 19-inch screen. What you're actually meant to have there is like a 21-inch screen so you can get the standby instruments, but I got the wrong one. But you know what, I will upgrade at some point, but it's good enough for now. You will also notice that there are parts of my sim that are not quite as perfect as they could be, but you know what, it worked, and I put it together very quickly. Stay tuned for improvements, but let's get on and tell you more about the build. The landing gear, the auto brake panel, the brightness panel, and the warning panel are all from a company called SL3. This is a guy called Santi who makes these bits by hand. They use software called Mobiflight, which is a very well-known, renowned software when it comes to cockpit building that allows you to control these things using Arduinos, which are essentially little microprocessors that allow you to do things like this. Now, he made these things by hand, and they look absolutely stunning. Without them, the cockpit would not be complete. Now, he's also building a mini overhead panel, which will be arriving very soon, which I'll be showing you guys on the channel as soon as it's here. Moving on, we have Wingwing. Wingwing have created some amazing things for us flight simmers recently, and they have got some stunning stuff coming out in the future. Their most recent release is their McDo, although in the last video when I mentioned that, people were like, McDo is crazy, I'm dead at this, for real. From the MCDU test specialist in France, it's called MCDU, everything else hurts. We might have to update the FCOM with phonetic transcription to prevent such cruelties. I thought McDo was a cool thing, but apparently it's not. So the MCDU by Wingwing, if you haven't got yours already, get yours. It's amazing, and so far people have been getting deliveries of this thing and they've been super happy. I've also got the Wingwing FCU and EFIS, the left and right EFIS. These things are amazing. They used to cost so much money, like thousands, to have this kind of thing with companies who made replicas in the past, and Wingwing came in and said, you know what, I'm done with that expensive stuff. So now we have things like this that are affordable. Then we have the Wingwing rudder pedals, the Orion rudder pedals that I use, and the Ursa Minor, which is incredible. Now, if you're enjoying this video so far, please consider liking, subscribing, leave a comment down below. I just want to hear from you. And before we move on, I have started a Patreon in which I'm going to share all the flight sim tidbits and knowledge that I built up over time. And if you're wanting more information about how to build something like this, more guides for flight sim in general, then check the link in the description, sign up to my Patreon. You'll help the channel massively, and it'll help me to do more videos for you guys. Moving on to the overhead, I have got the Aviator Panels mini overhead panel at the moment, which does a stellar job of replicating all the things that I need in this cockpit. If we bring our eyes down to the pedestal, now this is probably the least one-to-one and replica of my build so far, but this met my needs from a cost and usability point of view. Now we have first and foremost the Throttletech Airbus A320 Flightbox V3. This was kindly sent to me by Throttletech and it works astonishingly. Now I had to actually build this thing in a way that I could actually put the Throttletech Airbus A320 box in there. Now the Throttletech is a completely working replica. It works perfectly. The only thing that it doesn't do is the lift to unlock on the engine 1 and 2 start, but it's got everything you need from a replica Airbus A320 throttle point of view. And if you don't want to use something like this, because obviously this again will drive the price up, you can use the A320 throttle from Thrustmaster, or you can use the Honeycomb Bravo with some Airbus add-ons as well. Those work perfectly well and they'll bring the price a little bit lower. Now, the rest of my pedestal, looking on the left, I have got another McDo by Cockpit Simulator. Now, Cockpit Simulator are a company based in China who recently sent this to me to do a review on, and I've got a video of full flight coming out on this thing. And the difference between this and the Wing Wing is that this is full metal. Like, this actually feels like it actually belongs on a real plane. The Wing Wing one is amazing and is a working perfect replica, but this one is just another level up and it works absolutely flawlessly. Now, the rest of the pedestal is made possible by Flight Panels. Flight Panels I've spoken about in the past in my previous videos. They're a company who create software for Stream Decks. The Stream Decks I've got here are 2 Stream Deck XLs and 1 Stream Deck Plus. This Stream Deck up here is basically my ECAM panel, which allows me to shift what we want to see on the lower ECAM, all the different parameters in flight that you need, such as your doors. Well, your door's not in flight, but we won't make a joke there. Here's one that I use down here, which covers weather, lighting, and all that good stuff. And then the one over here is what I use for frequency. So when we're flying on the VATSIM network, using this to change frequency, and that is it. And this gives me the whole pedestal effect without having to go in and buy something super expensive online. And this is very, very accessible. So you guys are definitely able to do something like this. This screen is the Samsung G9 57-inch ultra-wide. Yep, 57 inches. It is absolutely enormous, and it actually covers like half the windscreen. I considered having a flat screen behind there, but this is awesome because it feels wraparound. It feels like it's, again, an actual windscreen. I used to have triple monitors, as some of you who've been following the channel for a while might have seen, but the difference with that is that you have bezels and they kind of get in the way and they're kind of annoying. But one enormous screen like this, yeah, this works pretty well. The computer is a 4080 Super with an i9-14900K CPU, so pretty chunky, and it needs to be because it actually has to run this screen, that screen, and this screen. Now, I've been playing this in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024 as well as 2020. 2024, as we know, isn't quite there yet. It's not stable enough, really. And when it comes to making content, it gives me anxiety doing anything longer than a short flight because I worry about it conking out and me losing all that progress. Alright, thanks for coming to my TED Talk. Now for the stuff you really want to know, how much does this thing actually cost? Well, the cost excluding the PC and the giant monitor is about $5,000 US. The full breakdown as well as the links to everything is in the description below, but if you want to get a full lowdown on how to make something like this, you're going to have to head to my Patreon to find out some more information. You can make this cheaper by excluding some of the more expensive bits, but honestly, simming has never been more available to the average person than today. Now, was that more or less than you thought it would cost? Not really sure, but there we go. Now, this is one of a 2-part series, with the second part being the flight video. Now that is going to come very, very shortly, and if you don't want to miss it, you know what to do. Till next time, guys, see you later.